The final page of a legendary era will be turned today on the infield of the Indy Mile. As the Jamboree faithful look down the road, the memoirs of a 3+ decade story will be bookended by a final showdown. Well, in a venue that has been marked over the years by some inclement weather, we have beautiful weather here today, bathed in sunshine for the final cruise around the Indiana State Fairgrounds, the famed Indy Mile, welcoming the Chrome, the Candy Apple, the pride of the American working class. Beautiful equipment all around, but the attention after this turns away from some of the other pursuits to the infield of the Indiana State Fairgrounds, where the monster trucks and the tough trucks will do battle and close out the 2024 Jamboree season right here for the 43rd annual Tire Rack Fall 4-Wheel Jamboree Nationals, driven by Yokohama. And we're going to jump right into our qualifying round. Mark Hall out of Champaign, Illinois, who won the first one of the season out in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. He's going to start off our qualifying round here today. He has not been as successful since that first win, but he'd like to make up for that here on the final one in Indy. Good launch over the first jump. Didn't quite grease it, but got a nice pitch over to the downside of that first tabletop. This turn right here has been problematic for him all weekend long. He gets over that pole again. Good charge across the finish line. It's a 26:36 for Hall and Raminator. Not what he was looking for at all. We've had trucks down in the low 20s as Carson Williams rolls out of Oak Harbor, Washington, representing Team Throttle Monster out of Utah in Kamikaze. Solid run through the first corner and the second leg, now to the final leg out of the second turn. Sets himself up beautifully there in that heavyweight chassis out of Utah. 25-12 to go to the number one spot. He ran a 27:09 in qualifying session 1 and a 26:10 yesterday in the heat. It's a little cooler out here today, and the sun's out, but it's not beating down on this tarmac the way it did yesterday afternoon. It's actually pretty nice out here with a breeze. Jack Brown out of Lafayette, Indiana, by way of the state of Florida, the Dirt Crew Dozer. He's been quick this weekend. Made it to a final round yesterday. Looking real smooth here in qualifying, and he will go to the number one spot, a 23.40 second elapsed time for the Dirt Crew Dozer from right here in the Hoosier State. Again, he made it to the finals yesterday, but it was his teammate Darren Basil who took that win. RJ Turner now out of Knoxville, Maryland, has yet to make it really into a racing bracket. Broke on the starting line in round 1 of Friday night and did not make it back to the starting line after qualifying yesterday. He's really looking toward this race bracket here. Had a great freestyle yesterday, almost won freestyle last night, but would love to get a little deeper into this racing bracket here today. Blistering pass. I don't think it's going to surpass Jack Brown, but it's the best run that this truck has made all weekend long. It seems like it's maybe back to 100%. 24.98. Not quite what he was looking for, but he's in that ballpark right now as the other half of the Ram Trucks team comes out of Champaign, Illinois. Kurt Kramer out of Rantoul, Illinois in Remunition. hear the kind of muted thump of that big Hemi horsepower, that Brad Anderson Hemi 565 cubic inches going to work here on the tarmac. Little wide nap turn, and I've mentioned throughout the weekend they're working with a new front pinion setup on these trucks. Different than what they're used to. They used to run open front ends, now running these lockers, and you got to really stay after it to make the truck turn tight. You have to almost dirt track it through those turns to make it work, and these hairpin turns are a real menace to these guys as they get used to driving these trucks. 28-19 will put them at the bottom of the qualifying grid right now in the number 5 spot, just behind his teammate Raminator, who ran the 26:38 earlier. Now, last night's race and freestyle winner, I should say yesterday afternoon's race winner, last night's freestyle winner, Darren Basil out of Magnolia, Texas, representing the team from right out of Lafayette, Indiana, the Blockhead, part of the DCT Power Sports group. Looking super quick right now, going after a 23.40 second elapsed time. He was in the 23s. Was he quicker, though? Yes, he was. A 23.25 second elapsed time for Darren Basil in Blockhead. The truck from right down the road in Lafayette, Indiana. One more to go now. Your night one race winner comes to the line. Night one sweep, by the way, because he also won freestyle. He was the fast qualifier as well on Friday night. Tim Hall Jr. in Jurassic Attack from up the road in Cadillac, Michigan, driving the truck out of Utah. Another Redline Oil Team Throttle monster machine. There at the end as he collected that turn marker, and that did hurt his time. He's going to be 400th slower than Darren Basil. Jurassic Attack will go into the number 2 spot. Jack Brown will sit number 3 in the Dirt Crew Dozer. Then it will be RJ Turner in War Wizard in the number 4 spot. The number 5 spot belongs to Carson Williams in Kamikaze. Number 6 to Raminator, and number 7 to the Rammunition Machine. Then Blockhead will get the bye run in the first round as we look at the bracket. Dozer and Kamikaze will go at it. Then there'll be War Wizard against Rammunition, and then Jurassic Attack against the Raminator. Stay with us. We've got the Tough Trucks Challenge coming your way as well when we get back to Indianapolis.
This presentation is brought to you by Monsters Monthly, your place for photos, videos, event info, and all the happenings in the monster truck industry. Visit monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For a weekly look inside the wide world of monster trucks, check out Crush This, Monster Truck Podcast. Available on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube.
The Monsters of Destruction Tour returns to the Corbin Arena for 2 big nights, Friday, March 13th and Saturday, March 14th, featuring Raminator, Ramdemption, High Roller, Hurricane Force, and War Wizard. Come see the big boys push the limits in an epic thrill show. Plus, the local 4x4s fight it out in our tough truck competition. Every ticket is a free pit pass. Come ready to meet the drivers and take a ride in a real monster truck. Don't miss the Monsters of Destruction at the Corbin Arena, March 13th and 14th. Get tickets at monstersofdestruction.com.
This program is brought to you by RPM Army. For a wide array of content from across the motorsports world, visit rpmarmy.com. Your high-performance fix on the go.
Back with you as Tire Rack presents the 43rd Annual Fall 4-Wheel Jamboree Nationals for the final time from the Indiana State Fairgrounds, driven by Yokohama. We are ready for round 1 of our Tough Trucks Challenge. The modifieds, 5 of them in the field. Mike Leupold has been fast all weekend long in the Warhorse. He will get the bye into the next round. Brett Sponenberg will take on Jimmer Martin, a pair of twin Broncos there. And then it will be Jake Nichols in the other long wheelbase Bronco, the Godfather, taking on the only pickup in the field, Scott Martin in Haul and Ass. Now, Mike Leupold, he had a bye run in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. He was the quickest there, but he flipped the truck coming off the infield back onto the main track. He caught the apron and rolled the truck over and actually did damage to the rear suspension. It put him out of competition on that bye run. He does not want to make that mistake here today, but here's the thing. You don't want to go slow on a bye run. You want to check out the track, and you want to keep your elapsed time up so that you have the choice to put your truck where you want it and move your opponents around all weekend long. Now, these guys are all friends, they're all teammates, but they are definitely fierce competitors no matter who is on the track with them, and they come from a long line of great tough truck racers. They were part of this series for many, many years, even through the Mickey Thompson era, when we would have upwards of 20 to even 40 sometimes of these modified tough trucks out on the infield of the state fairgrounds here, the Allen County Fairgrounds for many years, all the way back to the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds, and of course Bloomsburg, still very much a part of the tradition of the Jamborees. As Mike Leupold works his way around this thread, you can see how long it is. That's why the times this weekend have all been well over a minute as he heads toward the final turn, the Talladega turn, and the transponder cable is just as they come out of the corner right there. That little bump he went over, that was the transponder cables, and they are buried down underneath that dirt so the monster trucks don't dig them up when they take off on that starting line. But Leupold sets the pace here in the first round of modified tough trucks action. He will come back and go side by side with another opponent in the second round as we'll start seeding the bracket in the semifinal round. We will also draw, I believe, one fast loser, which is a bit odd for the Tough Trucks Challenge. Not the normal way they do it, but with only 5 trucks in the field, they want to keep these guys side-by-side racing all weekend long. Jimmer Martin, who has struggled a ton here this weekend, seems to be struggling again. He has had all kinds of issues with bad intentions, pulled it out of mothballs to go racing here this weekend, and it looks like there's some fatigue factor maybe setting in on the old Bronco. But here's a guy who's definitely not afraid of that fatigue factor. Oh, look at this. Jimmer Martin has stopped on the course. Bad intentions continuing to struggle with mechanical issues. He had the front end go away on him in the first day of action. He had issues with the rear end the second day of action, almost put the truck on its top. And Brett Sponenberg basically on a free pass right now. Well, I take that back. Here comes Jimmer Martin. He's fired back up, and he's coming after Sponenberg. And here's the deal. Sponenberg now has to keep the run legal, because if he has any infractions and Jimmer Martin is able to make a legal pass, Martin could, in fact, go into the next round, although he's in trouble here. He tucks it over the side of the berm. He did that earlier this weekend, and he's not going to finish the run. He heads off the track, an apparent either a steering issue or he has lost front-wheel drive again, maybe, as he just wanted to avoid causing a problem. Sponenberg going to go ahead and finish up a rather slow run for Beer Money. He's been quicker earlier on in the weekend, but maybe he felt like he needed to maintain the truck throughout the competition. It's grueling, even with only 5 trucks here. They're still going to run essentially the same amount of races that they would in a larger field of trucks as he heads toward the semifinal round. Here comes Jake Nichols now in Foy Toy, the Godfather, a truck that was built to replace the truck that he had run for many, many years that was a twin to the Beer Money, or I should say maybe a triplet at this point now. Warhorse, Foy Toy, Beer Money, and Bad Intentions used to all be kind of a quadruplets. And one by one, those trucks have all been put to rest, and a new truck had to be built in their stead, going side by side with Scott Martin, who we have seen win before on our coverage in Haulin' Ass, a very competitive Ford pickup out of Owego, New York, the Martin namesake of the Martin Towing sponsorship on the side of these trucks. What a launch for Jake Nichols, notorious for getting some huge air in these competitions over the years, and you can see the long wheelbase has not taken that away from him. If anything, it's probably bolstered his confidence, although he nosed over kind of hard. Nice job executing that jump there. You can see you land up short, you're going to stuff the front end right into that roller off the top of that first obstacle there. It's just a little extra challenge for these and the monster trucks to get over. You got to commit to that jump, or you got to under jump it and drive over that roller. Look at Nichols just flying the track though on the backside. So is Martin though, still trying to play catch up. As I said, you got to run a legal run to keep yourself in the bracket right now, because there is one fast loser position for another truck to get. And it looks like Martin will likely take that spot, as Jimmer Martin was unable to complete the course. Scott Martin will likely come back in that spot. I don't see any way he wouldn't be, because he does make a legal run. So we will have Foy Toy, the Warhorse, hauling ass, and Beer Money coming back in our second round of competition. We're not done by a long shot, though. Monster Trucks coming back to the tarmac for their first round of racing when we come back to the Indiana State Fairgrounds for the 43rd Annual Fall Four-Wheel Jamboree. Back with you on a beautiful afternoon here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds as Tire Rack presents the 43rd Annual Fall Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals, driven by Yokohama. The kids enjoying the Raminator picture truck, brought to you by Ram Trucks out there. If you see the Hall brothers are in town with any of their vehicles, get out to your local Dodge dealer, your local Ram Trucks dealer, or the local event that they are being hosted at, and sign up for those Ram Trucks sweepstakes now, as the Monsters come back to the infield here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds for round one of Monster Truck racing on the dual S-course that we have here. Lee Collins and the crew setting up a beautiful course out here that has been challenging for sure. Blockhead will get the bye into the next round. Dozer and Kamikaze will go at it. Jurassic Attack and Raminator at the bottom of the bracket there. War Wizard and Rammunition coming right at you now out of the middle of the bracket. Kurt Kramer and RJ Turner both struggling a bit here this weekend. This should be a pretty even up run. Kurt over there in the far lane. What an aggressive start for the Big Blue Ram out of Illinois. Kramer very aggressive into the first turn. RJ Turner was there first. Kramer oversteering a little bit. Problems for Turner. He caught the turn marker now. He has to get in and out of the throttle. He will just keep it ahead of Kurt Kramer. A wild final dash to that last obstacle. Turner will move on into the second round of racing, and kind of even up on that. Turner on these big flat, hard surface tracks, concrete or pavement or a real hard dirt track with spools front and rear, will sometimes have an issue turning that truck, although I'm not totally sure. Sometimes he's not trying to keep himself out of the bracket for longer. He does love to freestyle that thing, and it does turn tight when he's freestyling it now, as Kurt Kramer also, as I mentioned, getting used to that new front pinion setup with the lockers front and rear on the Ram trucks now. And I think the tire selection may be hurting them here this weekend. The harder compound that they use so they don't burn down their softer compound tires on this pavement might be biting them right now, as they're sliding quite a bit with those harder Firestones. Our second pairing here in the first round coming into stage, though, Carson Williams on the far side in Kamikaze, going against your number 3 qualifier, Jack Brown, in the Dirt Crew Dozer. Brown with the jump off the starting line. A good start for both, but Brown with a clear advantage. Let's see how they come out of this first turn. Brown through there very quickly. Williams being consistent. Hard charge across the finish line. Dirt Crew Dozer heads to a semifinal round race. Trying to find his win on the Jamboree Tour this season. Carson Williams, though, you got to tip your hat to that guy. He made a race of it, fell behind quickly, but he did not let Jack Brown get out on him to where Jack couldn't make a mistake. He had to stay He had to stay solid all the way through that run. Now, the first winner on the Jamboree Tour this year took the first one at Bloomsburg, goes against the guy who took the first win this weekend, Tim Hall Jr. No relation between these two Hall boys on the starting line here. Mark Hall, Monster Truck Hall of Famer in the Raminator, a multi-time champion of these Jamborees, a multi-time Thunder Drags champion. He'd love to be a multi-time Monsters of Destruction champion. The Raminator against Tim Hall Jr. in Jurassic Attack, Illinois versus Michigan. Into the first turn, Hall's going wide. Hall Jr. took a nice tight turn. Jurassic Attack quick into the final leg. It is all Jurassic Attack as he flies across the finish line. Mark Hall with big-time problems on the run. You saw him all over the place out there. He's been having a steering issue, I think, this weekend. But again, I think the tire selection, and they made that selection, as I said, so that they did not burn up those softer compound BKTs that they will sometimes run. They went with this harder Meteor compound of the Firestones, and it seems like it might have bit him. He may have a broken axle, or he hit that jump way out of shape to begin with. Look at the landing there for Mark Hall as he came across the finish line jump. That was a wild landing there. Tim Hall Jr. was on rails this time around. He wants to challenge and get back his racing title from night one over Darren Basil, who was the runner-up but managed to get past him last night. Remember, though, he was taken down by Jack Brown in the semifinals yesterday, so he's got to get past both of those guys. Stay with us. The semis and more Tough Truck action coming your way from Indy.
Hey, welcome to Wildman Adventures. We're at the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
Welcome back to the 43rd Annual Fall Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals, driven by Yokohama at the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis, Indiana, as we get set for the semifinal round of the Tough Trucks Challenge. Mike Leupold in the Warhorse will take on Brett Sponenberg in Beer Money, and there you see Jake Nichols going against Scott Martin. Nichols making his way to the starting line. He was quick on night one, but started losing ground to Mike Leupold and the man to his left, Brett Sponenberg, who qualified in the number 2 spot. But Nichols, notorious for coming alive on race day, although he has had good runs all weekend long. Both of these guys have been pushing these trucks really hard. Sponenberg on that outside lane now. You see he's a little bit behind, but you'll notice he seems to be caught up when they get to the turns. That truck pivots right around him, and he starts to make up ground, but he gives up some right there over the tabletops. Jake Nichols still with the lead, gave up a little, but again, back in the lead coming over the tabletops into the Talladega turn to start the second half. Both of them with a little trouble right there. That end of the track is really drying out. They did water the track earlier. It was very sticky, and the sun coming out today, and even with the cooler temperatures, the wind blowing across this place has really dried out the surface of the track. Sponenberg getting way behind now. He's got to make up some time as Jake Nichols a little out of shape going over that jump. Look at Sponenberg flying the tabletop on the outside. Getting real aggressive, going toward the final turn, toward the finish line. Nichols is there first. Sponenberg not going to go. Oh, he's in trouble on his side. Brett Sponenberg catches an edge on the Talladega turn in the right lane and dumps it on its top. Not the first time he's been there, if you couldn't tell by all the dents in the sheet metal on this blue Bronco out of Pennsylvania. The Bloomsburg resident will climb out. He'll be A-OK. Lee Collins And Crazy Craig and the crew over to him very, very quickly. There you see Brett Sponenberg. We've seen him take quite a few wild rides over the years, and not the first time we've seen him dump it in a berm turn. He got in there deep. Watch it again. We'll see that likely he buried the outside, the right rear tire when he goes around. He either got up on the... Yeah, he's over the berm just a little bit, and it gets real soft when you get up on that cushion. And it looks like he dumped the tire over just a bit, and when it came back on, it dug in and flipped him right over on his top. But he was all right. Brett Sponenberg, upside down, gave the thumbs up to Lee Collins, who pulled up on him right there with the fire extinguisher. He's going to be all right. Looks like he blew the right front tire as well when he dug in, but they'll get that pumped back up, and he should be, I'm not positive yet, but for the money, he should be making a Consi race appearance here. I'm not sure if we will actually get that or not. Jake Nichols and Foyto, we're going to look at the run he made here over this tabletop. Watch this launch. Again, notorious for flying these things right on the bottom of that ramp. He lands on the flat. That's a hard hit, even with the good seat that he has in that thing. And I mean, he's buckled in there about as tight as you can be, but Nichols taking a hard ride as well. They're going to be back there checking over the Foytoy, making sure he doesn't have any damage so he can come back for the final round race now as the Warhorse rolls in to take on your fast loser from the first round of competition, that being Scott Martin and Haul and Ass out of Owego, New York, taking on the Appalachian, New York Warhorse in the near lane. Again, Warhorse was the fast qualifier out, and Bloomsburg had to buy in the first round and dumped it. He's the fast qualifier here, and this track allows them to skate around here a little more, but we've now seen there's a spot that'll jump up and get you. It's that Talladega turn. We've been watching guys get high-sided there throughout the weekend. Jimmer Martin was certainly proof of that, and now they know, as Loopy is kind of checking out on Scott Martin here. Scott Martin seemingly struggling with the track right now. Mike Leupold enters the second half. Sort of conservative run he's making there over the first jump. He may be saving the truck for the finals. I think he knows he might have a walkover here. There may be a problem with Scott Martin's machine, and they swap some information back in the pits. Martin may have told him he wouldn't be able to make a full-bore run here, and Loopy's just trying to get a feel for this track when he goes against his teammate Jake Nichols in the final round to similarly built newer style long wheelbase Bronco tough trucks. As Loopy crosses the finish line, he'll go into the finals against the Foytoy. So the two long wheelbase Broncos will battle in the championship race. Scott Martin finishing the course. He'll come back for the Consi round. We will see what happens when we come back to Indy. Stay with us. The Pride, the Chrome, the Candy Apple, well represented on the cruise lane of the Indiana State Fairgrounds as Tire Rack brings you the 43rd annual Fall Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals driven by Yokohama. This event moved from the Marion County Fairgrounds. Their last event there in 1988 and 1989 began coming here to the Indiana State Fairgrounds, and that was the Bigfoot Family Reunion was staged there at that event. in 89. Now 2024, the final year the trucks will run here, and it is Jack Brown in the Dirt Crew Dozer, your number 3 qualifier, going after your number 7 qualifier, who gets back into the bracket by way of the break. While problems continue for War Wizard, he did not make it back to the pits, so Kramer gets the reprieve. Both of them dirt tracking through there. Kramer with a better run this time around than he had in the previous round, but Jack Brown may be checking out on him here. Charging the final jump, a huge leap to the finish line. Not bad for Kramer, though. He didn't let him have it. He was still going after him. I think he's finally getting used to that setup on that Rammunition machine. He will go to the pits and get ready for freestyle. Jack Brown will make it into his second final round of the weekend. He was the runner-up last night to this guy, who was the runner-up on night 1 and your race winner yesterday in racing action. And the guy he unseated is the guy he's about to go against here, Tim Hall Jr. in Jurassic Attack. Tim Hall Jr. beat him in the finals on Friday night, and it was Jack Brown who beat Hall in the semifinals yesterday afternoon. Now he gets his shot at the race winner that he didn't get to compete with yesterday, Darren Basil in Blockhead. Both of these guys have been very smooth this weekend. Tim Hall Jr. really on rails today. Fell back just a little, only a few hundredths off of the qualifying time of Darren Basil. 1 and 2 out of qualifying right here. Both of them, nice start there, greasing that first jump. Even into the first turn. How will they come out of it? Hall with a little problem there. So Basil also has a problem on the far side. They made the same mistake, and now he's up on the berm of the race ramp on the starting line. A battle of errors on that one, and it goes the way of the man out of Texas driving the snap-together truck out of Indiana. Blockhead Darren Basil goes to the final round, a repeat of last night's finals. Blockhead and Dirt Crew Dozer will go at it in the championship race here in Indy. So Jack Brown will either pick up his first win, or Darren Basil will pick up his 4th on the Jamboree Series for 2024. But it will be an all DCT Power Sports Finals as our Tough Trucks Challenge gets ready to come back to the line. We'll have 2 separate runs here in the finals. We will have our Consi race. That is Brett Sponenberg coming to the line right now, as he did get the front tire fixed there. He may have borrowed a tire as he cut the right front down when he rolled over on the left lane. And here on the right lane, hauling ass, Scott Martin, or excuse me, Martin is over on the left side of the track as we look at it here. I don't know why I've been doing that all day today. I think as Sponenberg comes into stage here on the right side. And it looks like he either has fallen in a hole, fallen off the dirt, or he's cut the left front down there. It looks a little low there on the left front. Keep an eye on that. Not quite as aggressive off the line there. I don't know if the truck is hurt. We know Martin was dealing with some ailments on the haul and ass machine. Beer Money now making a run after him. Maybe have 2 hurt trucks here, or maybe they're both back to 100%, but they are absolutely burning up the pavement right now. Probably 2 of the better runs we've seen these guys make here today, at least through this first half of the course. Sponenberg now starting to leg Martin a little bit. Oh, look at that. Oh, he got up on the berm again, got wide in there, and he gave back some ground. Now he's going to have to make that up. This is just for 3rd place, by the way. Foot to the floor, big flat jump right there, and it gets him all out of shape. Scott Martin trying to gain on him. He is about a third of a leg behind right now, and this one is definitely going to go the way of Beer Money if he can get through this turn healthy, and he does so. Scott Martin not too far behind in spite of giving up some ground, but Beer Money will pick up the third place check from here in Indy. We're going to watch again. Watch him. He gets off that berm again, got up on the cushion. Actually dropped completely over at that time. Heads up driving to unbury that wheelie. Might have saved himself some trouble because I believe the traction bars on the rear end got on the ground there, got on the berm, and it actually kept him from digging that rear tire in. He got on the throttle and dug his way out of it. Now as Jake Nichols has brought Foytoy into stage, and Mike Leupold rolling out in the Warhorse, trying to gain back the spot that some people thought that he had a shot at in Bloomsburg. The Warhorse and Foytoy for the Tough Trucks Championship. Little bit of an edge to Warhorse. Into the switchback. They're about even right now. Maybe an edge to Foytoy going into the turn, but a lead for Leupold coming out of it. No, they're about even. I take that back into the Talladega turn. Right there together, and almost they seem conservative at this point on the run. They're not really attacking the track the way they typically would. Maybe trying to save the trucks a little bit so they can just burn it through this last section. And it looks like Leupold is starting to get on the hammer. Now he's pushing it harder. Nichols gonna have to push him on the final stretch. Look at this. Burning up the turns, a problem there for Nichols. He almost comes to a stop. Mike Leupold pushing it to the Talladega turn. If he can round it without going over, Warhorse will take the Indy Championship for the Modified Tough Trucks Challenge. Celebratory donuts as tradition out there on the pavement, and he will be the last person that ever gets to do that in a modified tough truck here in 2024, closing this part of the book on the Indiana State Fairgrounds. We've seen some great racing here over the years, and those guys certainly have been a big part of it, keeping the tradition rich, keeping the heritage alive here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds as we go into our Monster Truck Championship race, and it's all DCT Power Sports Dirt Crew dozer Jack Brown, who was your runner-up last night. He is the one who unseated Tim Hall Jr., who won night one, but it was Darren Basil in Blockhead who took that win away from Jack Brown, his teammate. Darren just came back and knocked out Tim Hall Jr. again in the semifinals to set himself up for a repeat of last night's final round race. And Basil really seems to have made himself a home over in that left lane. Both of them with excellent starts. Dead even into the first turn. Brown starting to open up a little lead here into the final corner. Nailing the hammer. 3 race problems there, by the way, for Basil. I think he may have missed the last ramp, but 3 races, 3 different winners in Indy, and Jack Brown is the last monster truck racing champion from the Indy State Fairgrounds 4-wheel jamboree. Congratulations to him. We are not done, though, as Jack Brown takes a celebratory lap on the horse track. We are gonna let Lee Collins make some track changes out here. They're gonna cut the bottoms out of these ramps and set these guys up for freestyle. The final freestyles from Indy coming your way next. Stay with us. with you from the Tire Rack 43rd Annual Fall Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals, driven by Yokohama Freestyle Time. R.J. Turner, who got knocked out of racing again after the first round by mechanical problems, did make a good run in that first round, but he wasn't able to come back for the second round of racing. Gets ready for his second freestyle of the weekend. He had a good one last night, almost won the freestyle competition, and now this big Oldsmobile-powered 41 Pro Mod. Feeling it out right now. He knows the big air is running perpendicular out here to this access road here in front of us, so he's taking advantage of the steep sides of those race lanes. There has been some massive hang time off of the sides of those race ramps throughout the weekend. It's kind of tradition here that guys like to hit the sides of them, get that big air. He's going after one now. Way up there, hard hit on the side. Oh, he just pulled the right front shocks apart. You can see it. He actually broke the cab, too. He landed so hard, it split the A-pillar on the right side of the windshield. And he has ripped those right front shocks apart. Watch it again. He comes down hard, and it looks like he extended those. Man, yeah, he overextended those limit straps, and you can see that blue puff right there. He puts blue fluid in those shocks so that he can see when they're leaking, and it definitely told the tale right there. Unfortunately, they have not had a good weekend, and their problems continue. He's back at the trailer now, and they've got a long road ahead of them to get back to Knoxville, Maryland, and then put that truck back together. The Jamboree season is over, and of course our 2024 season is over, but they have other events to get to going into the fall. Some non-MOD events, of course, and several other promoters, and they've got a show next week they got to get that truck ready for, as Carson Williams out of Oak Harbor, Washington gets set to make his final appearance here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, and one of his last appearances as the driver of Kamikaze. He will switch to a new identity for 2025. We hear it will be a dinosaur. We don't know which one yet. Ramp in front of us last night was primed for the sky wheelies. I don't know if it's set up quite that way today. It might be that ramp on the far side that is the sky wheelie ramp today, but it provided a ton of excitement over here in front of the access road in the mud pit where our camera crew is located. And Carson Williams in the Utah-based Kamikaze, part of Team Throttle Monster, picking up the pace here today. Probably one of the most high-momentum, action-packed first halves of a freestyle he's had all weekend long, kind of biding his time, playing the game smart. Now he's going to take his shot at this freestyle victory. Here he comes, cross-cutting the ramps. There's still a lot of belly in those race lanes. They tuned them up for today's racing, and it was showing. They're getting some big air going across the finish line, and didn't really do anything to this ramp on the near side for freestyle, just left it as is, and Carson Williams got the most out of it there. A great run for him. He will jump into the lead here in freestyle. Here comes Monster Truck Hall of Famer, multi-time Jamboree and Thunder Drags champion, and he has a few MOD wins on the indoor tour over the years. Now would love to grab a freestyle victory. He has not had a race win all weekend long, but a guy who I do believe when we come back for the 44th annual Fall Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals next year at the Hendricks County Fairgrounds in Danville, Indiana, once again driven by Yokohama, I do believe that Hall will be one of the major players in monster truck racing there, as he has no intention of not spoiling the championship hopes of his contenders, the Raminator. working the track out here right now. He seemingly has a steering problem. I think he may have a self-center issue on this truck, because it doesn't seem like the rear steering has been coming back for him as he cuts out an awesome donut out there on the pavement. Again, the thing crab walking. May have a ball switch going out, but I believe he's got an electrical problem of some type. That or the self-center is just gone, and he's having to manually operate that rear steering. Not a huge problem, but it can hinder you just a little bit. Look at this, throws caution to the wind. Now, if you've been following our coverage this Jamboree weekend, you'll know that throughout the weekend, going across that section that he just did up there where the berms are was a no-no, and that was because there was timing equipment up there. There was conduit running down the track. Well, they have pulled the timing equipment out while Lee Collins was out there grooming that race lane for wheelies. They went over there and pulled the timing lights and the transponder cables and the staging lights out, so those guys have a free pass there. The barricades have also been moved so they can go through there with a little more reckless abandon. And Carson Williams will continue, by the way, to lead the freestyle chase as Kurt Kramer rolls out in Rammunition. Nice hit right there. These engines run so smooth and with such a quiet note, it almost seems like they're not getting after the power. And let me tell you, though, you can feel that low thump when you're here at the fairgrounds. You can feel that thump in your chest of those 565 cubic inch Brad Anderson Hemis that are in these trucks, those massive power plants. Just a different note with the 4-into-1 collectors, the mufflers, and that big, heavy Hemi horsepower that these guys run. He's going to wrap up this run right here. He may be having a problem. That is a kind of an uncharacteristically slow run for him. He hasn't been on top of the fleet all weekend long, but safe to say that there might not be something at 100% on that truck right now as Tim Hall Jr. rolls out now with the cackle of the Zoomies. 540 cubic inch power plant in this one. Thing capable of 13 to 1400 horsepower. A 5-minute and 15-second freestyle yesterday. They had to change the oil in this engine. He actually cooked that engine oil. It was like water with some soot in the bottom of it when they opened up the oil pan. They're not quite like that, but I exaggerate a bit, but that engine oil was cooked. They had to do a little engine work after yesterday's freestyle to get this thing ready for today. I don't think he cares, though. He'll work hard to make sure that he can come out here and burn this place down, and doing it out here in front of his friends and family. He used to sit in these grandstands as a kid with his friends and family. A wild rear end landing right there. He landed on that left rear corner. Said they were going to throw caution to the wind. He wants to make this one count. I can tell you that because this is a bucket list event for him. He grew up coming here, and it meant a lot to him to take a victory, a clean sweep on Friday night. He wasn't able to put it together yesterday, but he was impressive. He would like to go out of here with the final win ever from the Indiana State Fairgrounds as he burns the tires up on the pavement out there. Looked like he was going to cut into a cyclone and then changed his mind. Landed hard on the nose, combos it into the next ramp, though. Reckless abandon for this guy, and I wasn't sure there for a second if maybe he was losing oil pressure or something when he cut into that donut. and then suddenly second-guessed it. Hopefully this motor's not going down. Maybe the transmission's going away. I don't know, but he has been putting a hurt on some parts here this weekend. Truck sounding a little bit sick right now as it rolls to a stop out there on the end of the track, and that will end the run. I think he may have finally killed the Triceratops. DCT hits the track when we come back to Indy. Stay with us.
The Monsters of Destruction return to the Corbin Arena March 13th and 14th, featuring Raminator, Ram Demption, High Roller, Hurricane Force, and War Wizard, plus Tough Truck competition. Come early for the free pit party. The Monsters of Destruction at the Corbin Arena March 13th and 14th. Get tickets at monstersofdestruction.com.
Back at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, the final two freestyles of the 2024 Jamboree season and the final two freestyles ever here on the infield of the Indiana State Fairgrounds for the four-wheel Jamboree Fall Nationals. Ready to go. Last night's freestyle winner, Darren Basil in Blockhead. Your racing runner-up today, your racing runner-up on Friday, and your racing champion yesterday. Trying to get one more win out here, Tim Hall Jr. Raise the bar big time. Darren Basil is going after him. The double shock setup on each corner with an accumulator shock, and then right next to it a accumulator coilover shock that allows the truck to keep its ride height without overworking the sway bars or the shocks themselves. You can really put a hurting on one of these trucks without damaging the suspension. And we've seen that over the years with not only Basil, but of course Jerry Beck, who was very popular with the coilovers on his Dirt Crew monster truck for many years, the head of this team. And of course Tim Jones in the Tailgater has been very successful with that coilover setup, and it's proven itself here. Again, massive hang time for Darren Basil. Lost some momentum a little bit out there, but he got near you see those concrete base signs that are sitting out there. People were parked in those positions, almost jumped up and bit him there. He didn't want to run over any of the obstructions, get in trouble with the track staff or the venue itself as he works his way around the infield here. Going to try his hand for the two-wheel moves. Nobody's been able to pull it off this weekend, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to pull it off before the end of the day. It's just too dusty out there right now. He gave it a shot, but it's yet to be done here at the Fall Nationals as Darren Basil looks to wrap up an outstanding freestyle run. Nice sky wheelie right there. I said that was going to be the ramp for that, and it was. Drove the rear end under the truck. Darren Basil wrapping up a solid weekend, a successful weekend here in Blockhead. Waiting to find out if he took over the lead. He was at least on par with Tim Hall Jr., but I do believe Hall will remain in the number one spot. That was awesome right there, and then he carried that wheelie way out into the outfield. Really, I know he's got the momentum there and the power to keep going. He probably could have dragged that back bumper all the way over the track into auxiliary parking if he really wanted to, and then that sky wheelie right there. He did not take over the lead, by the way. Tim Hall Jr. remains on top of this thing. And I said, Tim Hall Jr., this place means a lot to him. Came here as a kid and has had 2 wins this weekend. I'd love to grab a third right here. And the last win, by the way, this will be the last victory taken at an Indianapolis Jamboree before they move over for 2025 to the Hendricks County Fairgrounds. And Jack Brown trying to sweep here. It has been a pair of sweeps this weekend, one by, as I said, Tim Hall Jr., and then one yesterday by Darren Basil. Jack Brown has the race victory, so he's on house money right now. We'll see what he does. He was going for a victory yesterday, but he broke an axle, had an outstanding save over here in the corner nearest our camera crew. Almost got himself into the water truck and the wall, but he managed to stay out of that. He's got good momentum on this run, though. Getting ready to cross cut right here. Cross threads the race lanes. There's that big air. Look at that. Pounds the edge of that thing and gets it up into a slap wheelie. Probably the better part of Valor there to not ride that thing out because he was not in a good position. If it got away from him, he would have tumbled it across those race ramps. He would have done a lot of damage to it, but he is putting on a show here in the Dirt Crew Dozer. The momentum is there. He's been solid, but I don't know if the spectacle is quite where it needs to be to get past Tim Hall Jr. He's got a few more tricks up his sleeve, though. I can tell you that. Look at that! Wild ride across those starting line tabletops. He has been all weekend long eyeballing those. Everybody has. They wanted their shot at them, but you just couldn't go over there. Today, it's whatever you want because the timing equipment is gone, so he's able to do whatever he wants over there. Coming at the side of this one, he's got open space. He wanted to slap wheelie. I know he wanted to slap wheelie right there, but the back end came down too hard and it bounced him over on the nose. A slap wheelie. Lifted that front end kind of midway to the sky, carrying that blade high in the air. The Dirt Crew Dozer with a marathon run to wrap it up here from Indy. And it looks like this run will come to an end right here in front of the crowd at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Jack Brown laying down his shot, throwing the cards on the table, getting the fans on their feet, but was it enough? As we take one more look at the run he just made, it was a great run, but was it enough? Tim Hall Jr. is still leading the competition right now. This was awesome right here. Watch this thing when it hits. Bang, off the edge. He kind of cased the landing there, and it slapped the front end down. And, you know, had he been a little more out in the open, he probably could have ridden that out on one tire, but better idea that he didn't. It looks like he may have damaged a knuckle or pulled some champagne bolts right there when he came down on the rear end. Something may be going away there. One tire, maybe a kingpin going away on him, but an outstanding run for Jack Brown as we wait on word of our final freestyle champion from here in Indianapolis. There it is, Tim Hall Jr. in front of his friends and family. A bucket list weekend for him. 3 wins out of competition here this weekend. A race victory and a freestyle victory on night 1. A freestyle victory, the final victory ever here from Indianapolis. We thank you for joining us. We will see you for the 4-Wheel Jamborees in 2025.